Hey, this is Michael Lindsay from Vital MX. We're here at Chaparral Motorsports today. You know, back in the days of two strokes, a good silencer and pipe combination makes a drastic difference on how the bike creates power. And even though we've had these things around for a long time, we're still going to give you a little reminder by going through and showing you how to change one out. Now we got our KTM 125 back here. We're going to go ahead and swap out the pipe. We've got actually a pipe itself that's a little bit dinged up, and we got a shorter silencer we're going to run on it. Kind of covers the bases. Some guys swap out the two-stroke pipes because they just get flat out beat up. On two strokes, the actual pipe and silencer combination makes a much bigger difference for power characteristics. There's a lot of fun in playing around with different combinations. Or if you're just looking to repack your exhaust, either way, we got you handled, and we'll go through everything you can do here. The tools you need are relatively simple. An 8 or 10 millimeter T-handle should get the majority of the hardware off about any of the bikes. You need a pipe spring puller to get the pipe off the cylinder, and then maybe a set of pliers to help remove the rubber grommet that bridges the two systems together. Some bikes you might have to remove the side plate. In the case of the KTM we're working on, we don't actually need to, we have access. Now that our silencer is totally loose, pretty much just slides right off. Sometimes the rubber grommet might come with a silencer, sometimes it might stay on the pipe. Either way, it's really not that big of a deal. It's definitely better to start with the pipe still fully bolted down, so it's just that much easier to be able to twist and pull the silencer off. So before we actually unbolt the pipe, we're going to go and leave everything tight so it's a little bit easier for us to just go ahead and pull these pipe springs. Of course, a two-stroke is not like a four-stroke. It doesn't have a bolted down flange. It's just pulled in by these springs, which are pretty darn tight to keep it in there. So make sure you have a nice pipe spring tool to go ahead and remove those. Now, most of these pipes you'll usually find have 2 to 3 mounting sources, majority of them being rubber mounted like we see here. As we're just removing the pipe, you can go ahead and just unscrew the main mount that goes to the pipe. And that's it. The only thing you're really holding is a little bit of seal around the gaskets in the cylinder, but as heavy as the pipes are, they should just pop right out. Well, we got our pipe off here. Of course, two strokes rattle a lot, they sure shake a lot, and we always hear little weird noises coming off the exhaust system. You've wondered if they crack. About the most common place you'll see that is usually actually inside here on the mounting welds for the hangers. So if you got one of these off, it's a good opportunity to really inspect the inside of the welds to see if you've got any hairline cracks in case you've been hearing something or feeling a little bit of power loss. Of course, in this case, we're putting on a new pipe, but if you got to use one, make sure you take a peek at the gaskets, make sure none of them are cut or have started to crack or just basically fall apart anyway, so you have a nice solid seal. As we know, two strokes are really, really sensitive to how well everything's sealed up and where the gas is going to create power. Start out just getting that pipe in there. Make sure it engages all the way up in before we start putting in our hardware. Hold up the pipe. So like I said, we're dealing with an all new pipe here. One of our mounting points is consistent with the stock pipe we took off. One of them is just a little bit different. So like I said, we have to loosen our rubber mount here just so we can line up the hole. So like I said, just snug up the hardware. If not, leave it just a tad bit loose, because as we can see without the springs, the pipe is not fully engaged into the cylinder. So we leave the hardware just loose enough that we can go down here, get our pipe springs in, and finish setting the pipe basically where it's going to spend its lifetime. So we've got our little FMF shorty here, so we're switching down to just one mounting point. As with most of these, they'll have their own mounting hardware, some kind of rubber grommet you've got to install before you go ahead and put the pipe on the bike. So in this case, we have our two washers slash inserts that are going to go in the rubber grommet. One is bigger than the other. Reason being is the larger side is going to go to the outside of the exhaust where the bolt head is going to set against. That way there's a larger area to put even pressure against the pipe to hold it to the side of the bike. While this little small guy is just going to hang out over here on the inside of the pipe and butt up against the subframe. As with most of these systems, we're going to reuse our little rubber boot. Go ahead and engage about half of it onto your new system so the other half is open and exposed to slide onto the pipe. Some of these grommets will be the same consistent size all the way through, so you have to be careful not to press it too far onto your pipe. In the case of this one though, the inside diameter, there's a little bit of a ridge inside, so you can feel it when the inside of the pipe has hit that ridge, which is pretty much the halfway point across. Now we're ready to put our silencer on the bike, which means we need to line up with the pipe. Good idea is to still keep everything just a little bit loose on the pipe. Even though it might look like it lines up, it may need to change angles just a little bit for when you put the silencer on and go to actually mount it to the subframe, which in the case of the system we're working with, it needs just a little bit of extra room, so you want to keep that loose. Put that in there lined up. Now that we're pretty much at the end, since everything's lined up, you can go ahead and start tightening down the whole system, and you can go ahead and start with the silencer since we're already there, and then make our way back onto the pipe itself. Now one last thing to really take a peek at is make sure that that grommet we talked about earlier is in a good spot, that the pipe's sealed up before we fire it up, and listen to that two-stroke sing. Now we got our fresh FMF shorty and factory pipe on this KTM 125, so we can go let her sing. Now, as we mentioned earlier, two-stroke pipes, there's definitely a lot of variations. Four strokes, you're just used to buying a stainless or a tie pipe. Two strokes though, we have 2 to 3 variations of pipes and silencers from every pretty much company out there. Makes a huge difference on how it makes power. Some of you guys definitely know what you're looking for and know what you want to buy. For those that are curious what's available, see if you can borrow some from some buddies, mix and match, jump on our product guide, look for some reviews, or even better, jump in the forum and ask some users what they've tried and what they found works and doesn't work for them. And make sure you jump on VitalMX.com for more tech tips.